Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Contest of Speed EU2. Joel's with me. We're back after a week away. I've missed it.
Exciting.
I was otherwise engaged with difficulty speaking, and Joel decided that it was a good time to go to someone's house. So,
well, garden. I'm not a
garden.
lockdown breaker.
Well, there we go. Thank you very much last week to Limmy and Thomas for stepping in for us, but we're back now to reclaim our rightful place as EU2's regular commentary team. We are live from Spielberg, Austria for the Austrian Grand Prix. That's round 8 of the championship. 3 more to go after this, and then we will be crowning a winner. Perez retires from the session in the pits. I think that's a ban he has to serve.
Yes.
He's gone, fully gone.
Oh.
Never mind. So, housekeeping then that we have tonight. We had 18 drivers. The two missing are Thomas and Vapor Wizzy in the AlphaTauri and the Mercedes respectively. Both notified us as such. And unfortunately, although I am not sure why, we have no replacements for them, so no stand-ins. Did he race last week? KV in the Red Bull? He did, didn't he?
Yeah, I think
yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah, so new driver for returning driver. Got promoted 2 seasons ago as EU3 champion. Left to go and set up the COS iRacing team, who are doing fabulous work. Their endeavours, and has now rejoined and is filling the seat that has been vacated by Milan, who has been promoted to EU1 again. He's decided to go back over there.
Yeah, a couple races in EU2 and now he's back in EU1.
Yeah.
Being replaced by KV.
So we're very glad to have KV back with us. We will be keeping an eye out for people making illegal pit entries tonight. I don't know how vigilant Thomas and Lewis were yesterday, but anybody who is seen crossing the white line on the pit entry who has excessive width will be penalised after the race with the potential of a 20-second time penalty, so it's really not something you want to do.
Yeah, hefty penalty and certainly a race ruiner if you get given 20 seconds. That's
definitely.
Sure.
Well, we've seen people already, some yesterday are being investigated, and we've seen people in the past lose podiums and strong points finishes for tiny little infractions that you wouldn't think have cost them, but it's to stop people taking big advantages, so one rule must apply to all. Yorno coming through the final corner, Ricky getting in the way and costing him time on the exit. Dirty Air pushing the Red Bull wide. 1 minute 3.1 was the time at the end there. Ricky had every right to be where he was. He was starting his lap, but Yorno will be cursing the Welshman, having joined his new team IFR in the week leading up tonight.
Certainly won't be happy about that. I don't think Ricky helped him at all there. So.
No, neither do I. Let's jump on board with the Haas then, see what he can do. Through the middle sector then now. Now down towards the final corner of this Austrian circuit. Just keeps it in the white lines, crosses the line to go fastest with a 103.8.
Yeah, and that's not the quickest time from Ricky. We would normally expect him to probably be doing times a bit faster than that. I wonder if that's maybe a set-up thing. I don't have any information on the weather personally.
No, I haven't heard anything yet, but I'm sure we'll find out soon.
Sorry,
Maybe.
Yesterday.
We did. There was quite a long time coming out as well. The Ono was a long way ahead of everybody else. So we'll have to wait and see. Let me jump on board then with... Let's go with Tom Robbo. So he comes around to start his lap, and we'll go for an onboard lap, shall we?
Indeed we shall.
So, let me clear the screen. We'll keep the time details top right. Let's go then. Down the main start finish straight then towards turn 1. Blinding qualifying because of the sun shining down. You've got a marquee braking point, turn in, you can clip some curb. Don't run too wide on the exit. Good turn 1 from Tom Robbo on this, his first timed lap. Up the hill then, this officially is turn 2. Little kink to the brake hard for the hairpin right. Different lines can give different results through there, but he keeps the traction well on the exit. Down the hill now, back to the other side to turn 4. Got to brake earlier than expected. That downhill zone making it very easy to lock up for the guys not using ABS. Up the hill again now towards turn 5. Throw the car in and hope it sticks. 7 and 8. 7 the only real challenge there. Finally over the crest down into turn 9. The new grandstand's there on the left hand side. Final corner, can cut a little bit more than Tom Robbo did there, but he kept it in the lines. Powers for the line, 103.2.
Yeah, and I'm hearing information from the Twitch chat that it's going to be a full wet race.
Oh, good stuff.
Snipes absolutely smashes Tom Robbo's time by nearly 0.8 of a second. Wow, a 2.5. If he's running that on a wet setup, that's impressive to say the least.
That's if he's going for the wet setup, of course. There is a very big chance that he won't be. We'll just have to keep that in mind. It depends if it's intermediate conditions or full wet conditions. If it's full wet and he's doing that on a full wet setup, that is hugely impressive. I would be inclined to say that that is on a dry setup and he's going to try and put it out front with intermediates.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it's certainly not beneficial going through the corners, but a dry setup down the straights, I mean, no one's going to get past you.
No, and he's going to have the benefit of being out in front with no spray as well, and that's going to be massive. Yeah, particularly around such a short circuit where all the cars are going to stay together. We saw that last night as well. Once cars got in a train with each other, the lap is so short, there's nowhere to escape. We have 3 DRS zones as well, of course, so it's even more difficult.
Yeah, this is certainly one of the best tracks for overtaking in the dry, but haven't seen too much in the wet around it, but I'm sure it'll throw up some surprises.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Snipes' sector times compared to his nearest rival, Tom Robbo, and he's 0.2 quicker in pretty much every sector. Yorno has just put himself second, so if we compare those times, Yorno is within a 10th or 2 in sector 1 and 2, but sector 3 still 0.3 down on Yorno. On Snipes.
Yeah, and Yorno has said in the chat that he has picked the wrong setup, so he is certainly on a dry setup, which will not help him in the race.
No.
You would think.
You'd think not. Arbar puts himself P4 with a 3.3. I think for the guys running wet setups, if they're running wet setups, I would imagine we're looking at probably Tom Robbo backwards as the unknowns, and more than likely... Steve's in. He will be taking over the Mercedes seat, I would imagine.
Yeah, so that's 19 on the grid, more the merrier.
Well, you say 19, it'll probably be 18 because Perez is not here. And somehow he's not starting at the back. That's worrying for the 5 behind him.
Yeah, I don't
they've
know
not.
whether Perez got himself back in the session.
Well, he's not in the car, so I don't think he has.
I will
Arbar
send
then
another
coming
invite.
into the pits. Let's watch. That's how we want people to take the pit entry. Nice within the lines. Tight to the curve on the inside. Not taking any liberties. So let's go to Lewis then. P9 at the moment. The slowest man to have made it into the 1 minute threes. And he's Pink Panther. Teammate Wisey Boy currently sat in 18th place with no time on the board. But we've seen before, these two guys tend to pull out a result when they need one. We've got a car off in Sector 2. That's an Alfa Romeo. I'm going to put money on that being Tichy. Yep, there we go. We just
no
pass him.
prizes for guessing.
No, Tichy's struggling still without traction control.
Yeah, he's doing a good job just to keep out of everyone's way.
Needs to make sure he's not penalised for being completely immobile. But he's underway again. Just right on board with Lewis then, around a lap. And
Takes
let's
turn one pretty nicely.
yeah. While we're watching Lewis, Joel, let's have a think. Who do we reckon is going to be quick in the wet? I've got my suspicions, but I want to know where your mind's at with these guys.
Yeah, well, the wet does tend to favour the drivers on controller, especially around a track like Austria. So I think we'll probably see the likes of Snipes, Arbar be pretty quick. I know Arbar is pretty handy in the wet. Yeah, and I think Snipes and Arbar, my guess is.
Snipes and Arbar, okay. From past experiences of these guys, I am going to say... Oh, Lewis, no, he's snapped at the pit entry. Came right across the entry line there. Good job there's no penalty for it in qualifying. I'm going to say that Donamo, historically, is incredibly fast in wet weather conditions. Now, he has recently switched to turning his assists off, and he's on the wheel now rather than the pad, so that might be different. I think we've only seen him once in the wet since then, and that was at Suzuka last season. And he didn't have the best of races, so we may be wrong there. I would say Donamo. Ricky, again, assist depending, is always quick in the wet. Matrix as well. I know we said at the start of the season he's one to watch. He's had a difficult season this time around, but again, always want to keep an eye on. And then obviously the guys at the front are going to be at the front. None of them are going to be that far off in wet conditions, I don't think. The only thing that would let them down, maybe the front two being on dry setups, if that's what they're on.
Yeah, certainly, but as we previously mentioned, if they've got that speed and they're fast down the straights as you would be on a dry setup, then I mean, no one's really going to be able to pass them if they can hack it in the corners as well.
That's true. You do also, of course, have the fact that if it's intermediate conditions, then they will have a better chance than if they were on full wet.
Yeah, certainly. These tyres have a big part to play in wet conditions. We saw that yesterday. I was losing seconds a lap to people on better tyres than me. So
yeah,
certainly spice things up.
And I was thinking at the end of that race, if I'd only pitted a couple of laps earlier, we could have had a good time. Matrix just put himself up into P7 with a 103.6. Something about 7 that's ringing some bells, Joel. Do you want to remind me?
I don't think I can remind you. I think I'm the one who needs reminded.
For anybody who doesn't know, Joel here is a very big Huddersfield Town fan. And again, for anybody who doesn't know, tonight Huddersfield were, I'm sorry Joel, there's only one word to use for it, battered, really.
Yeah.
7-0 away at Norwich. So naturally I couldn't let that go without getting a little jibe in for posterity's sake.
Yeah, no, it's fine. We all have our bad days, and I'm sure next week we'll be back to only losing by a couple of goals, not 7.
That was me thinking you were going to link it to Saturday's performance from my team, but you've missed your opportunity now.
Yeah, I don't really think I can comment on anyone else's team, and my team is as dire as that.
Fair enough. Right, so then back to qualifying. 2 minutes to go according to our clock. We are of course a little bit ahead of the other guys. Probably between 30 and 40 seconds.
People come for their outlaps now as Snipes is heading out the pits with Arbar and Don Hammer halfway around the lap.
Oh, Matt going for the Vettel! He's done it again. It's only qualifying, but he swoops past Steve on the grass there into the pits. Of course, the pit lane's still part of the racetrack, not under the influence of cars or flags, so it is perfectly legal to overtake people on the pit entry if they're going slower than you, as long as you get it stopped before the entry line, of course. Don't want to be picking up penalties unnecessarily.
Certainly not, as Arbar, I think, is the first one to start a flying lap, and he might be a little bit worried here, as he might end up running into a little bit of traffic.
Right, if you can keep an eye on Arbar for us then, Joel. I'm watching Snipes at the moment, who's just coming through the final couple of corners to start his final run. So I can see from TAS that Arbar are 10th down through Sector 1. About to see Snipes' time, and he is a 10th up, just under through the first sector. Arbar improves in the middle sector. He's now back to level pace with himself. Snipes then now.
Pretty clean lap so far from Arbar.
As he comes through, I think that's at the final corner. No, it was Matrix. Okay.
Improves, but
not by much. Yeah. Snipes then has invalidated his run on the exit of turn 7. Was improving by around 2.5 to 3 tenths. We'll see when he crosses the line now. He's going to finish the lap 101.4. Improved by just over a tenth.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he's not on a dry setup, if that's on a wet setup, he'd be setting world records on a dry setup, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Yorno then, he started his laps marginally quicker through the first sector. Tom Robbo slower, but not by much, but does improve through the middle of the lap. Let's jump to Tom Robbo actually, and we can jump back to Yorno. Final corner then for the Alpha Tauri. We see, just keeps it inside that curb. Crosses the line, goes second, 103 flat. 1/100th of a second ahead of Yorno, who's now coming around the final corner. Can he put back? Or can he go pole position? He takes second place back. He's not far away from Snipes, but it's far enough to make the difference.
Yeah, certainly. And with those two out front, with their dry setups, to come in for a very, very interesting race.
Certainly will. Matrix then now, middle sector, he's got a Haas in front of him. I think that's Ricky, who is on a lap. Emir has finished. Matrix going to be having some trouble if it is Emir. Not improving at the moment. Very close though.
Does improve. Manages to put it up in P7, which even if he is on a wet setup, he probably will be looking more towards matching the times of Tom Robbo and Arbar. So Possibly a bit of a poor qualifying session there for the IFR driver.
Yeah.
Sure, he'll be flying in the race.
Yes, he'll be absolutely fine. Ricky's one of those. We've said it before. We'll say it many, many times to come. He always seems to pull something out. Stumpy there had a bit of a mare, it looks like, coming through turns 7 and 8. And has run out of fuel as well, as he's the final car to finish off the session as he comes into the pits. So then, IFR Snipes is on pole position 102.524.
Yeah,
for the Ferrari man there.
Lap.
Yeah. NSX Yorno in second place, 2.5 tenths behind. Then Tom Robbo in P3, Arbar P4, and then the first COS driver, Ecos Donamo, in P5. One of his better qualifying performances this season, actually.
Yeah, certainly done a good job to put it up into P5.
He has, yeah. And I would imagine that when the rain comes, he'll be as confident as any of the other guys out there. Timmy P6, Ricky in P7, Matrix P8, Matt in P9 in the other Williams, Wisey Boy in P10 to round off that top 10. Those guys would, assuming that the race started dry, which we already know it shouldn't, will have to start on the soft tyre. Guys outside the top 10, so that's Emir, Racer or Lewis, KV, Stumpy, Steve, Jamie, Titchy, and the two McLarens will have free choice of tyre. Again, if that's a dry race start. If it is wet, as we have been told, then they all have the free choice of the two wet weather compounds.
Yeah, good qualifying session. Snipes taking pole by some margin in the end. I think we're in for a good race. I certainly do.
Yeah, it should be good fun.
Hopefully
Not
it's
many
carnage, but
well,
a good kind of carnage.
well, there won't be many overtakes, that's for sure, but it will be a tactical game.
Oh, it's wet.
Is it much? Whoa,
it's
that's
very
full
wet.
wet. Okay, now this changes many things. Guys on the full wet setups will have a significant advantage, particularly in the early stages, as the cars work to clear that standing water from the track. I believe is it 40 litres a second the Pirelli full wet tyre can clear at a certain speed, 100 kilometres an hour?
Possibly. I'm not the man for that
Something
sort
like
of stuff.
something like that. It's some horrendously large number and large volume of water, so we'll have well, it shouldn't take them long to clear the water, assuming it isn't coming down any quicker than that. And while we're waiting for everybody to get themselves going, get the setup sorted, pick their strategies, say a little prayer because it's that wet, have a nervous breakdown, you know, the usual. Just want to say thank you very much to our partners, and that's F1 Armchair Fans. You can check them out on Facebook. Make sure you go over there and show them some love. I can also do some of our plugs as well while we're waiting. So if you make sure you follow COS on social medias, that's Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. You can also make your way over to our YouTube account and subscribe there, and follow on Twitch as well. That is very much appreciated. We have a web store as well. There will be some new merch dropping for the iRacing and esports teams very soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And as if by magic, look, 20 seconds and then we'll be underway. It's as if I timed it, Joel. As if I timed it.
Yeah, perfect timing.
Yeah, you wouldn't think I'd be doing this for years, would you?
No.
No, I'm just too good.
Seasoned professional.
Well, your words, not mine. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Even I mean, I'm vain. I'm not that vain. So, full wet as on Snipes' car then. Let's have a look at everybody else. Has anybody been bowled? No. On the full wet parade. As we head on to the formation lap then. Weather operates at around 50 to 60 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, and it was bad enough on the intermediates yesterday trying to get heat into those front tyres. I can't
You
imagine
speak
what
for
it'll be like
yourself.
on these full wets.
I had no issues with that. The full wet, of course, operating in that window means that they don't have to put as much energy into it. They come out of the blankets on the grid at 100 Celsius, give or take.
Yeah.
Of course, air temperature at the track is 21 degrees Celsius and track temperature is 24. So they would.
We've already had our first collision.
You say that. I think that Tichy has gone into the back of Jamie, I think, is what's happened there. Well, the less that, the better. Snipes then leading the cars around. And let's jump across to position change for the start. The race is going to be people's best opportunity to make up a chunk of plates, or at least one or two. After
voice
that,
is a bit jumpy, Danny. I don't know whether you're doing an update or something.
I shouldn't be, unless there's one in the background. Give me 1 second, everybody. I won't miss the start, I promise. No update. Hopefully that's improved it.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see.
Glad there's no chaps and chapesses in the stream. Try and sort that out, but no updates, I'm afraid. Be an easy fix otherwise. So we get ready to go racing then in Austria. The lights go out and we wait for the revs to build in the bottom right. I'm fed up of saying it now. Here we go. And we're away. We ignore Perez there going through that ghosted car. We've got a change of position already. Wisey boy Emir get ahead of Matt. Shocking start for the Williams. Tom Robbo gets ahead of Arbar. Don Amo's dropping back as well. He's down into 7th place. Ricky there getting ahead. Great start from him. Snipes has managed to get himself ahead of Perez again, even though that car had a jump start. Tom Robbo down Yorno to take 2nd place early on in this race. Poor the Red Bull driver. Arbar now alongside, heading down towards turn 3. I'm going to call this turn 3. I know it's turn 4, but I'm not counting that kink. But on the inside, Yorno should have the traction then. Oh, but loses it on the power, and that allows the Renault up into 3rd place.
Yeah, we're already seeing the impact of using a dry setup in these monsoon conditions.
Yeah, Lewis up to P8, gets ahead of the ghosted car of Perez. Big winner so far is Emir, up 5 places already. And the losers, the losers at the moment are the 2 Williams guys, that and Wisey boy.
Yeah, Don Amo left out of the session right at the start, so I think he'll be jumping back in the car any minute now, as he's dropping even more positions.
Yeah.
Snipes, I mean, we said he was on a dry setup, but he's already pulled a 2nd from Tom Robbo.
It's impressive. It's interesting to see whether or not. Let's have a look at his ERS level then for Snipes. 75% for him. Tom Robbo burning more of it and currently underfueled. So
yeah, you can certainly burn in the wet conditions around here.
Snipes in the driving seat, it would look like, as we head around the 2nd lap of this race. We've got Donamo rejoining. That's Jamie who's lost it coming out of the official turn 3, and he does have some wing damage there. One thing that might work in Tom Robbo's favour is Snipes is burning through his tyres quicker, as is Arbar at the moment. Yorno using up his rears, which is what I found yesterday running a dry setup in wet conditions.
Yeah.
And that's the same for Lewis, but he's been making his way forward, so I wonder if that's more because he's having to go offline.
Yeah, possibly that spray will be pretty bad sitting behind that train.
So, Donama back in the car, getting himself ahead of Perez.
And surprisingly, only one little bit of wind damage, and that's for the Mercedes of Jamie in P18. It's only 12%. So
Wisey Boy did come in. Wisey Boy got significant damage early on, so I think, well, he did pit early, so I think that's probably why. I was watching on board with Timmy then, who dropped 1 place off the start. Got himself ahead of Don Armo, but dropped behind both Hasses, so Ricky and Emir. Timmy's sort of the dark horse, isn't he, really? Of this tier. He's always there or thereabouts.
Yeah, he is, and I expect him to be the same this race as Matt. Already picks up 3 seconds. That's not ideal. Sitting in P10, that could take away his chance of, well, not take away his chance of points, but come the end of the race, that could be
It'll make it difficult for him, won't it?
Points and no points, yeah, certainly.
We'll,
especially in the wet, there's not much.
I'll put the tyre graphic back up, everybody, once we get some stops happening. Obviously, at the moment, we know how old people's tyres are. The only person on a fresh set is Wisey Boy, and that's only a lap younger than everybody else's.
Tom Robbo now starting to close back slightly towards the Ferrari of Snipes. About a 10th or so in the last few laps, but that seems to have all dropped away as I speak, so yeah.
Tom Robbo then burning more fuel, more energy than Snipes, who is actually saving fuel at the moment. He's gathering that fuel back, ready for an attack later in the race. He's got more energy to use as well from his battery. So
yes, he lost about half a second there as I saw him coming out the final corner. Got a horrendous bit of oversteer, and that certainly would have made his heart drop for a second, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is where I'd be interested to know what setup he's running, because getting some oversteer there would indicate he's either got a lower rear wing or he's got a lower ride height and the car bottoming out and aquaplaning. But
yeah,
obviously we don't know.
He did seem to ride the curve a little bit on the exit, so that could have had something to do with it. Probably want to be staying off the majority of the curbs in the wet around here. Not,
yeah, it's one of those scenarios where you either want to really go for it or you want to say, well,
yeah.
So we ride with KV then, closing in on the back of Matt and in turn Matrix.
Yeah, we saw these two battling all throughout EU1, I think it was, in Bahrain, so hopefully we can see some more of that today.
Well, Matt seems to have this through the middle of the lap, with KV having it in sector 1. Early stages of 2.
Yeah, obviously Matt with that 3-second time penalty, maybe KV won't be taking any risks in these conditions and just tagging to the back of him.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see whether or not the overcut is still powerful here in the wet compared to it to the dry. Obviously in dry weather, if you start on the soft side, the overcut is preferable to the under. Because it's such a short lap, you don't have time to heat the tyres through and make the time back that you would lose. Excuse me, doing that. So overcutting somebody is often a way to hold or in a track position.
Yeah, and the front three have kind of separated themselves slightly from the 2-second gap forming between the Renault and the Red Bull. Arbar, my prediction was correct. He's showing some good pace here in the wet weather.
Yeah, he is closing in on Tom Robbo. A little bit wide through the final corner, which has cost him a couple of tenths of a second, but he should be able to pull those back. Snipes.
You mentioned Timmy being the dark horse of this championship, but I think Arbar has really proved a lot of people wrong this season. He's been constantly up fighting for podiums in a very competitive tier.
It's a good point.
Certainly done a good job.
He was very close a couple of seasons ago to being. Last season had a bit of an off season, really. I know it was Battle of the Danes last season, but Arbar's always been sort of best of the rest, really, in this tier. Probably deserves more than he's gotten out of the races. But sitting in P3 at the moment, he'll be happy with that, I think, where he is right now. He's not losing the guys in front. Tom Robbo...
Yeah, and Jamie has boxed and he's put on the intermediates. So I don't know whether that's maybe a sign of things to come, with the rain possibly lightening over the next few laps.
Well, officially, according to TAS, we are still in storm conditions. Might be a mistake. We'll keep an eye on the times. If you watch the left of your screen, you can see Jamie is currently 9.9 seconds behind Perez. Once he gets ahead of Perez, of course that is a ghosted car, we can see what the delta is really like to... In fact, let's ride on board with him while we wait and just see what the handling's like. He's struggling,
quite a lot
isn't
of
he?
short shifting going on, but it's not too bad. But I think the wet tyre is still the better tyre, that's for sure.
No, I think so. Absolutely. He's not really closing in on Perez, who is ghosted. Session set to 60. All of the guys in here you would expect to be able to beat an AI set up between 100 and 110. So to be closing in at the rate Jamie is probably indicative that those tyres are not in the best of condition.
Yeah, and I think we might have missed it, but maybe Arbar's made a mistake or something, because he's dropped a second more to the AlphaTauri of Tom Robbo in the past few laps, or maybe he's just backing off and playing it conservative.
Point. Yeah, I think he'll have made a mistake, because he's dropped well over a second there. Tom Robbo's holding to Snipes, putting the pressure on. Meanwhile, battle for 14th. The brothers Riley are duelling each other. Tichy in the Alfa Romeo, Wizard in the McLaren. Car numbers 14 and I believe 97 for the Wizard. Let's see if we can find a way. Well, the Wizard is seeing if he can find a way through. Still struggling on traction, even in the full wet, so Jamie must really be struggling. He is finally close to Perez, so we'll be able to see that delta in a couple of moments' time.
Yeah, Jamie has just improved on his best lap time by a tenth in Sector 1. So, but I mean, Sector 1 is mostly just straight. So if he's been burning, I guess that doesn't really mean anything.
Oh, we'll wait and
full
see.
Wet, 20-25% on the front and 30-35 on the rears now, so
yeah,
they certainly will be feeling a little bit weak, that's for sure.
I think that's where Tom Robbo is making his time up on Snipes, because his rear tyres are in much better condition. Fronts are about equal, it's the rears he's saving, so I think it'd be in the traction zones where he's starting to pull that back, and he's getting it very close to that 1 second window. Of course, no DRS in the rain for safety reasons. The health and safety making things difficult.
Yeah, I think DRS in the rain would be
it'd be great.
That's for sure.
It'd be great. Jamie then 17.7, and that is going up all the time to Wisey Boy, and I think it's fair to say that Jamie has made a mistake with his tyre choice. He will be out and he stays out as a barometer for the rest of the pack, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah, Snipe's got another bit of oversteer coming out of turn 1, and that's allowed Tom Robber into the second window. Obviously, as you mentioned, no DRS, but just a little bit of an incentive now for the Alpha Tauri to close up to the back of the Ferrari.
Of course, being inside that second window gives you the benefit of expect to see over the next couple of laps, assuming this gap stays the same, is Tom Robber close up down the straights, lose a little bit of time in the corners, and possibly start to burn away his front tyres at a faster rate than Snipes.
Yeah, and just having a look at the warning situation, as Snipes has just picked up another. He's now on 2, so he's one more extension, and he's got himself a 3-second time penalty, as Jorna has just done that, coming out of the final corner, gone wide and picked up 3 seconds, which at the moment we're dropping behind the Haas of Ricky.
Long way back for Jorna, but it only drops in one place at the moment, and the Wizard has got ahead of Tichy, who is pitting. Oh, it's Stumpy who's pitted, and Tichy's had an accident and is now coming in as well, so the Alphas are going to stack. Let's keep an eye on tyre choices, and we'll stay on board with the battle for first. Stumpy has gone intermediates. Officially, we're still in storm conditions, so I think that's too early. What's Tichy going for? Intermediates.
I mean, they're both experienced drivers, and this could be the right call, but I don't think so.
I think it's going to be the wrong call for now, but I think the actual choice of tyre is going to be the right one. I think the weather will be changing soon if they've both gone for that.
Yeah.
But we'll see. To be fair, the gaps ahead of them aren't dropping away.
Yeah, we'll see now, really, as Stumpy exits turn 4.
And he is closing in on Wisey Boy.
Yeah, very slightly.
So maybe online, maybe the intermediates match the full wets at the moment. With them being fresher, they're going to have that advantage. Of course, Wisey Boy pulling away there because they're on a straight section of track. Tom Robbo, though, right under the gearbox of Snipes. Those rear tyres on the Ferrari almost 5 to 7% worse off.
Yeah, they're not going to be feeling very nice, and I think if we do end up seeing intermediate conditions, Snipes will be struggling up until then.
Yeah, and it'd be very interesting to see when someone goes. Tom Robbo there moved across as if to try and bait Snipes into a decision. Stumpy is definitely quicker than Wisey Boy at the moment, so I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see someone taking a gamble at some point in the near future. That gap is holding now around 2.3, 2.4 seconds, but you would say on the face of it, as Matrix comes in, I'm just going to stay with this battle for the leaders, but I think Matrix could be the first man to really make that gamble for it to be without having had any damage.
Yeah, I mean,
he's going for it.
On board of Tom Robber, the rain is still absolutely belting down. I don't think it's beneficial to come in now. I think I would wait a couple more laps, that's for sure.
Well, let's wait and see what happens with Matrix. He's going to come out of the pits now. He's got Wisey Boy behind him on full wets and Wizard ahead of him on full wets. So he's going to have around 11 seconds behind him and 3 seconds ahead of him. So we'll keep an eye on that. If he's starting to make some gains, then it's definitely time. And I think the rain is starting to lighten up in Sector 3, Joel. I do. And that will steadily move across the track. Intermediates from now would make the
into the pits.
So does Timmy. I think we're going to have some guys now going to the intermediates and trying to get to the end on them. I don't think the leaders will want to do that yet. There's no guarantee that those tyres are faster, but they will not long, or they will get undercut. As much as we say the undercut isn't effective, that's only when we're talking about one lap. Anything more than that and you start to see some interesting results depending on each driver. So Ricky, Timmy, Lama, the Wizard, everybody's coming in for intermediates.
Yeah, and Ricky's put himself in a good position here, being that lead intermediate runner. If he can clear Steve and push into that 10-second gap, he could be really shooting up the order if the leaders don't decide to pit.
Yeah, he could. Snipes there, feigned. Tom Robbo's going for it. Tom Robbo dives into the pit lane then. Snipes goes again. Race.
Yeah, extra precaution. Make sure he gets that pit entry right.
Does so. Locks up, but of course it doesn't matter there. You're getting rid of these set of boots. So, crucial thing. Tom Robbo then into the pits onto the intermediate tyre. Snipes, we will watch and see what he does, heading now up towards turn 3. He's got fuel and energy to burn. Is he going to do so though? Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, and I can't, as Matrix sets the fastest lap on those intermediates, so yeah,
it's now
I
time.
certainly think it's probably time, yeah.
I think Tom Robbo
suffering too much staying out on the wets, but
no.
I think you're probably benefiting more.
Yeah, I think Tom Robbo has timed that perfectly. Can't lie, I really do. I think he's timed that absolutely spot on. It was equal a couple of laps before, but he saved that wear from the intermediate, and Snipes is looking to come in now. So Tom Robbo then in some traffic behind Cave through sector 2. Not what he needs, or not what he needs at all. He's in that train behind Lewis. So Snipes then into the pits, held a little bit by Arbar coming in. Tom Robbo then through the final corner now. Might just get ahead. You can see him on the right of your screen there.
He will, yeah, he definitely will.
Tom Robbo, here he comes. Round the outside, we'll see him ahead of us. There he is, Tom Robbo with the undercut. Takes the net lead of the race. Yorno still out, of course. Weather tyres. But the AlphaTauri has jumped the Ferrari.
I don't know, I can't remember how long these intermediates last. I was too much in the zone to be thinking about it last night, but
if they look after them, they will make it. They will make it to the end from here if they look after them. I would suggest, with Tom Robbo's ability to save them, if he does the same as he did on his full wets, he can do that. Snipes may struggle, especially with the warning and penalty situation as it is with those two.
Yeah, but now we were talking about if Snipes is on that dry setup, the intermediate conditions will suit him a lot better.
They will,
Tom Robbo.
As we see Yorno, the final runner to box, and we should see him go for the intermediates. Indeed we do. And the two race and indeed championship protagonists go through, along with Arbar.
Ricky now goes fastest on those inters, and I think we could be seeing him move. Possibly, no, I think it's going to be too far back.
What do you think? Or from Snipes.
Great exit there for the AlphaTauri, and Snipes is not going to be able to get the move here. As Don Ammo puts himself 3 seconds. That's not going to help.
No. And Yorno now needs to get those inters up to temperature and try to lose the two cars behind him. That's Ricky and Timmy.
Yeah, and I'm surprised Yorno actually hasn't dropped. I mean, he's dropped about 2.5 seconds because he was right on the back of Arbar, but I'm surprised he hasn't dropped
more than that,
to Ricky and Timmy. Yeah.
I think those two guys may have gone a little bit early, and that there'd have been a stagnation in pace as the Inters became equal with the full wet, and then became more that might have helped him.
Yeah, possibly.
We'll see. AWS popping up on screen there saying that the pit window is now open. No, it's not. Just Tim, not going to be close enough. That's his first sector of everybody so far. Mention about Tom Robbo's ability to look after his tyres. The rear tyres are about equal with Snipes, 1% in that at the moment, which you probably would expect at this stage. Front tyres though, Tom Robbo is tearing through them.
Yeah, considering he pitted that one lap earlier and he would have been pushing on that extra lap that he's done on them, he's probably alright to be only a little bit worse for wear compared to the Ferrari driver.
Speaking of, Lewis dropping down the order. Damage there, has there?
No, I think it could just be a glitch. He did pick up 3 seconds pretty recently, and that's going to put KV in the running for P9, even though he's P11 on track right now.
Yeah, Matt has the penalty as well, of course. And Don Armour behind has got one, so that's not going to have him in that equation anytime soon. Moving up the order then, Timmy still closing in on Ricky, not close enough to make a pass. Ricky will soon lose that toe from Yorno because of the distance between them. Snipes holding it around 4 to 5 tenths behind race leader Tom Robbo. 16 laps to go.
Yeah, and actually I think the Ferrari of Timmy has actually split the Hasses during the pit stops, because Emir and Ricky were running.
They were running side by side, weren't they? Emir went 2 laps longer than Ricky though, and that will be where the leapfrog happened for Timmy.
Yeah.
Tichy now down in 18th place, having been overtaken by Wisey Boy into turn 3.
So Snipes still holding that 5/6 gap to Tom Robbo.
Yeah, we are now officially into light rain conditions. Track temperature has increased by 2 degrees, up to 26 Celsius, meaning that tyres of harder compound will work better. Of course, we're in wet weather, so that doesn't matter. Everybody's on the same tyre.
Yeah, as exciting as it would be, I don't think we will be getting any dry conditions in this race.
No, I don't either.
Which is a shame.
We may get a little bit towards the end, but we're clutching onto rabbit's feet for that one.
Yeah, but you never know with Masters, anything can happen.
Certainly could. KV then looks like he's eyeing up a move on Lewis for P10 on track. Because the wet weather makes it so difficult to overtake in these cars. It's hard anyway, but no DRS, and the smallest changes in setup can have a drastic effect on your ability to accelerate out of corners, hold your line through corners. Top speed, of course.
In the wet weather, you can't just half commit to a move. You've got to send it.
You do. Never mind licking the stump, you're breaking out the Pritt stick for that one. In these conditions especially. So KV then not quite close enough to make it happen this time around. Snipes though, right on the back of the race leader. Rear tyres now. A lot of ERS. He has, and he's burning his rear tyres as well now. They've overtaken Tom Robbo for the wear they're receiving. If he's pushing hard, then I can understand that, and he is definitely pushing to try and get past, but
yeah, he's just gone 2/10 faster than his PB in sector 2.
Yeah, he's going to have trouble getting past though. That's the thing. Wearing his rear tyres out is going to make Going to make getting past on a straight line even harder because he's going to lose the traction out of a corner. We'll see here. He'll close in under braking, so he seems to be better there. And then as he put the power down, you expect some gap to form. But he's actually closing in this time. He's had a much better exit.
Nice.
He's managed to claw that. Prove me wrong straight away. Is he going for it? Not quite. Just keeps out of the rear of the AlphaTauri. But will he get that drive again now? No, that's what we were talking about.
Not.
That's the problem we saw happening earlier, but he managed to mitigate it as Don Armo comes into the pits again.
Yeah, now he's got to wait a lap or two to allow that battery to recharge before he pushes again. I certainly think, in hindsight, he should have gone for it there. Tom Robbo wasn't burning his ERS, and he probably had a right to try and send it up the inside.
Yeah, he could have flipped through and gone for it, but you've got to respect the way he drove. He held it there, kept it out of the back of the AlphaTauri. Emir close to the back of Timmy, who is even closer to the back of Ricky. Arbar as well. Let's make sure we... I thought I saw someone spinning then. That's why the voice jumped. It wasn't. It was Ricky taking the corner.
I nearly saw someone spinning. Snipes dropped 7/10 or so.
Yeah,
off the,
dropped a lot,
corner.
hasn't he? Let's keep an eye on Arbar then, Joel, if you can, because he might go for a move on the Ferrari.
Yeah, he's done a good job to close back in.
And I wonder how much of that was Tom Robbo just saying, yeah, John, come on, Snipes, have a go. You can stay with me. I'll hold you up a little bit, bring Arbar back into play, and then I'll leave you behind, as my tyres will be in better condition. That appears to be the case. Timmy chasing down Ricky.
Yes, it has been for the past few laps.
I think it's clear that Timmy is the quicker of the two at the moment anyway, but he's not able to make it through.
Yeah, in these conditions it's very, very hard to pass.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
not as many penalties as I thought as well yet. Everybody on 3 that has one, apart from Don Armo and Wisey Boy, who have 6. Everybody else is clear.
Yeah, I think almost in wet conditions, while you may think it is harder, you're so focused on trying not to make a mistake that you end up also obeying track limits a lot easier.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds silly, but you're also going slower, so you react as well. As we see Timmy eyeing up the move on Ricky, but not close enough.
Yeah, Snipes has now pulled back in that half a second he lost.
But he has pulled Arbar and Yorno with him as well, and that's crucial. Those two could help Tom Robbo out by putting the Ferrari under pressure if he can hold him there long enough. He's going to ride on board with Timmy though through this final section, because if he can stay this close to Ricky, he might have a chance up towards turn 3.
Yeah, and these drivers have now been on these tyres 8-9 laps, and they're already on 30%, so we're going to be looking at, low high 60s for the rear tyres by the end of this race, so that could really mix it up.
Certainly could. Timmy not close enough.
The battery.
Yeah, I'll jump back
possibly
to
look for a move.
Snipes then.
He's not going to be close enough.
Tom Robbo getting that. It's going to be on
premium traction
there by Perez as well, and that's going to cost him a tenth or two.
Yeah, obviously Perez not in the session, so not much can be done about that. And whilst we're in intermediate conditions, it is still very wet. You see the rain really coming down.
right up behind the AlphaTauri then now, but crosses that line
3
crucially. 3-second penalty for IFR Snipe, and you would have to say, with how this race has gone, that would put it firmly in Tom Robbo's court now to throw away.
Yeah, certainly. Even if Snipes now does decide to throw the hammer down and try and get past the AlphaTauri, I don't think he's going to have that speed and pace to pull away.
No, I would agree with you. He's not going to have the grunt to be able to get away by 3 whole seconds.
And it's possibly even going to throw him off the second spot on the podium. As
possibly, yeah. Arbar is in there.
Is behind him. Arbar is on 2 warnings as well, so there is still scope for the Canadian to get a penalty. A Snipe is all on the gearbox now. He's surely going to have to look for a move going into turn 3.
Well, we shall ride on board and see. Because he's got warnings to play with now, so he could have taken that a little bit wider to get the run. Not going to be close enough. No, I wonder if he's...
I don't really understand.
I think he might go for it here. Oh, loses traction a little.
All race he's not been getting the traction out of that corner. He's been getting a much better run coming out of turn 1.
I wonder if that's why he's not going for it, because if he's in any way alongside, Tom Robbo will be able to get him back on the run to 4 with the better traction, as we've got a Red Bull off the circuit. That's Yorno off.
Is that Yorno?
Yorno is off. He's back online now, but he's going to lose out. Lewis and Cavey are going to be at Tom Robbo's AlphaTauri. Through the final corner then. Snipes the back end, squirming again. Still 3.5 tenths away. Now he burns. Now he burns on the run to turn 3. 10.5 behind. Tom Robbo goes defensive, sits in the middle of the track. Snipes goes for it. Down the inside goes the Ferrari. Has to cut the corner. Tom Robbo holds position, and that will get him a big advantage there. Snipes went for it, and don't get me wrong, I don't condone driving where you hassle opponents or are in any way dirty, but Snipes there needed to squeeze Tom Robbo out to the outside of the circuit if he was going to have a chance at making a dive there work.
Yeah, we saw Verstappen on Leclerc last time. Not last time we raced at Austria, but we saw him squeeze Leclerc right off the circuit, and unfortunately at that corner that's probably one of the only ways you can really overtake.
Yeah, unless you're well alongside or indeed in front already. By the time you hit the braking zone, you've got to try and force them wide there, because the inside line has no traction, and in the wet that's just amplified.
Yeah, Snipes has now picked up an extra warning as well for his trouble, so one more warning, and he's going to be getting himself 6 seconds, which would, I mean, it wouldn't actually really have
it wouldn't have an effect at the moment,
so far behind, but
yeah,
a safety car at any point could
ruin that. Yeah. 6 laps to go then, including the one we're on. In fact, no, it'd be 7 laps to go, including the one we're on. It'd be 6 next time around.
6.5.
Yeah, 6.5 to go. Not a lot of time for Snipes to make a move. He's got to try and force Tom Robbo into a mistake. Well, 2 mistakes actually. He's got 2 warnings to play with before a penalty appears by his name. Arbar behind, incidentally, is only 1 warning away, so he wants to be careful. Snipes, of course, 1 away from a second penalty that I think at this stage would see him drop off the podium if there is anything that could happen, such as safety cars, VSCs. Ricky, though,
I have seen Tom Robbo running wide at the penultimate corner, but letting off the throttle and slowing down has saved him from getting a warning.
Yeah, Ricky, I'm just wondering whether he's trying to back Timmy into Emir, because
certainly could be.
Timmy seems to get close through sectors like the back half of Sector 2 and Sector 3, and then Ricky just pulls away. And I know Ricky well enough to hazard a guess that he's not the kind of man to run low downforce for the sake of low downforce. He would be doing it because it's the way that he wants to race. But I can't see him being this far off. 3. Oh, Timmy though, much better exit. Much better exit out of turn 4. Ricky has to force him round the outside.
Snipes.
Yep, 6 seconds for Snipes. And that, I would say that's his chances of victory over. If I'm honest, he's going to need a miracle.
Yeah, and even P3 if that was ever possible after he got that first 3 seconds. But
yeah,
he's lucky that Ricky's so far behind, otherwise he would be dropping off that podium.
And Timmy then, I think, is the man we're going to see try a move before the end of this race. Snipes dropping away from Tom Robbo now. I think he knows that his race is run as Matrix pits. Going for the fastest lap. I suppose he's going to drop to 11th, but he should make most of that back.
Softs.
He's gone. Oh, big collision between Matt and Yorno, it looks like. Wing damage for both cars. Significant wing damage for both cars on the left-hand side.
And it's stopped raining. It has stopped raining. If I'm looking at the onboards here.
I can't see anything from my onboard with Timmy. So Matrix, he's gone early. I mean, he did this a couple of seasons ago here. And it nearly worked out for him. Back when we had the Super Softs. Yeah, back when we had the Super Softs as a set of tyres, he did pull it off and he started to slide, and by the end of the race he actually pulled it back, got in a clash with Mitch at the start of the race.
Yeah, this has not worked out for
the
Renault driver. He's extremely slow. He can't brake.
No, Matt and Yorno are carrying on. I suppose actually there's not much point in pitting at this stage, because now they're ahead of the Wizard by quite a large margin, and then the guys behind the Wizard have all got penalties, so it's probably the best plan for them in terms of getting points.
Yeah, probably.
As Kevin makes his way past Lewis.
Matt's damage is ridiculous.
It's complete on the left hand side. He has no wing on the left, so turning right is going to be an issue for him. It's Lewis and KV fighting for position there. In fact, I'm going to jump across. I think they're side by side going into turn 4. Indeed they are. And KV clips the grass there as Lewis makes his way through, and he's going to challenge Matt now.
Yeah, Red Bulls aren't too fond of that corner and being on the outside. Probably best for KV just to back out and try and squeeze past Matt.
Good move from KV. Lewis forced his way through, elbows out fairly, of course. KV gets the run on that corner as well. He's going to go for it round the outside of turn 11, no, turn 10 even. But Lewis holds it through turn 11, for the actual turn 11, the final corner.
There on the outside line.
No.
To go for the move.
KV much better, much quicker in a straight line than Lewis.
Yeah, Matrix is now plummeted all the way down to P15. A gamble
did not pay off for him.
Paid off.
Keep an eye though. Someone might try it for the fastest lap. Oh, KV, big kick of oversteer there, coming out of turn 3, and that's going to cost him a run at Lewis down to 4.
Yeah, and we were talking about the tyres being rubbish near the end, and Stumpy, the first one to pit onto those intermediates, is on 68%. So by the end of the race, it could be going towards punch territory.
Yeah, of course that.
Especially if it's drying out and the tyres are getting a little bit hot. That will not be nice.
No, definitely not. KV picks up 3 seconds then. This could be where the Wizard takes advantage if he can close up. KV and Lewis will both know that Yorno has wing damage. It's just a case of putting the hammer down and getting there. And Timmy then on Ricky. Is it going to happen?
It's got to be soon.
I don't think he's going to do it. I don't think he can. I don't think he's going to have the grunt. Ricky seems to just have enough to keep himself ahead. KV again not close enough to lunge down the inside of that racing point. Let's have a look at the penalty scenario for the leaders. Tom Robbo has picked up his second warning, so one warning now extra for him could throw this whole race on its head and put Arbar in prime position for the victory.
Yeah, certainly Arbar done a great job to stick with these two throughout the entire race. He's shown his pace in the wet once again.
We could see a move from KV into turn 3 here, if he can get the drive through 1. We've got a yellow at turn 3. Seems to have been cleared though. KV gets the exit, puts the pack down, and he's right behind the Racing Point. We go, Red Bull versus Racing Point. KV goes to the inside, onto the brakes, holds it tight. Lewis going for the switchback, can't make it though, does not have traction to pull that off. KV will pull away now, but Lewis might have another go at him. It'll have to be around the outside of turn 4. Oh, KV goes deep. He goes deep. Can Lewis do it on the inside to retake that position? Yes, he can. Just nips in front there, and I've missed the winner. Tom Robbo crosses the line to win. Arbar crosses second, with Snipes in third place. Ricky then will come across to finish 4th, just ahead of Timmy and Emir. Next up will be Yorno, quite some way back, who's finished this race with quite a large portion of wing damage, it has to be said. Not as big as Matt, though, who...
KV's got past Lewis.
He has, around the outside of turn 11, and takes that position from him. P8 for him, Lewis in P9. Matt will cross in P10, but I imagine drop behind the Wizard on penalties. Indeed he does. Steve then, substituting tonight for Vapor Wizzy, will cross in 12th, but will he stay there? He stays ahead of Don Armo. He was in 13th place. Stumpy gets ahead of the Swiss to take 13th. Wisey Boy will be the final man to cross the line in P15 and complete the race. Not bad, not bad. EU2 often throws up wet races, it's renowned for doing so. And certainly, I mean, it wasn't an overtaking fest. But tactically, that man there played it perfectly. Tom Robbo timed his change to the intermediates superbly well, looked after his tyres better than his competitors, and brought that car home. Snipes had the opportunities, but ultimately pushed too hard and cost himself what should have been second place, losing out to Arbar there, who takes it from him. Ricky finishes in P4. He will be very pleased. Held off Timmy and his teammate Emir for what felt like most of the race. Yorno in P7, finishing with wing damage and 6 seconds of penalties, still getting a good chunk of points after that mistake dropped him out of the battle for the podium. KV in P8, just getting ahead of Lewis there at the death, and the Wizard rounds off the point scorers, having started last, gets himself into P10. Matt will feel aggrieved, heavy wing damage and a time penalty dropped in behind the Wizard as they finished milliseconds apart. Steve, Stumpy, Donamo, Wisey Boy and Jamie, not to mention Tichy and Matrix, also finished, and F1 Perez was a DNS. No retirements tonight. Fastest lap, fastest lap incidentally went to Yorno, so bonus point for him.
Shall I get the podium sitters in for an interview?
You can do that thing, and you can start the interviews with them, should you so please. because as vulgar as it is, I must go and relieve myself. It is quite painful. I shall get the AlphaTauri up on the podium first, fret not. Alright, do your thing, Joel. I'll be back in a moment, everybody.
Good evening. Everyone all in at once. You love to see it. Arbar, if you're... Oh wait, no, Snipes, you finished P3. We'll start with you. Talk us through your race. How did it go?
Yeah, I didn't practice that much, so I'm pretty happy with P3. Got held up in the pits, so Robo could have overtaken me, and you just can't overtake a wet, that's all. And yeah, the penalties, you know, can happen.
Yeah, when you pitted, how did you think the tyres were feeling? Did you think you made the right call to pit when you did?
Yeah, I just didn't know when to pit. I just said to myself, if Tom Robo pits, I'm going a lap later, and that's what I did.
Yeah, good job on P3. Arbar, how was your race? Talk us through it.
Incredibly boring. I kind of just drove by myself in Q3 for most of it. Arno kept me honest with his pace behind me, but yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to say. I just kind of vibed by myself.
Yeah, we saw you were on 2 warnings quite early on in the race. Were you sweating not to get that 3rd warning and that 3-second time penalty?
Yeah, I had good motivation for a bit, but then I think I kind of, like, it was kind of out of my brain, out of sight, out of mind, because Yarno picked up 3 seconds, and then when Snipe picked up 2, I kind of just, it got me in a good mindset to just kind of do my own thing and not pick up anymore, you know?
Yeah, you did a great job. Tom, talk us through your race.
It was quite some stress, because, I mean, I span in the dry last week, so keeping it straight in the wet was double the challenge. But yeah, I just I knew I didn't want to box the same lap as Snipes, because I had to get him on strategy. It couldn't be on track, because, I mean, we saw the last stint. And then yeah, I think my tyre wear was on the wet setup was much better. And then yeah, his attacks weren't strong enough, so.
Yeah, we saw that your tyre wear was quite a lot better than Snipes' is, especially on the rear. Do you think that was purely down to setup, or were you doing something special with your gears to sort that out?
I mean, I started the race underfueled, which saves the tyres on the first stint a little bit, being lighter. I don't know whether anyone else was underfueled, but yeah, so I was literally lean everywhere other than the straights, which saves the rears in the traction zones, so that was very helpful to that, and I don't know whether I was just not pushing, so.
Yeah, well done on the win. You did a great job.
Thank you very much.
That's it for the interviews. If Dan, if you're here, you can take the outro.
I can sign off. Right, you are. Thank you all very much for watching. We hope you have enjoyed the show. If you have, make sure that you hit that follow button on Twitch. If you're watching this back on YouTube later, make sure you hit subscribe. and you can stay up to date with everything Contest of Speed. Head over to our social media pages as well, and follow those. If you want to buy some merch, we have a merch store. That's contestofspeed.live/merch, and you can grab something nice on there. New lines coming soon. Make sure you tune in later in about, well, just over 2.5 hours time for AM2. They will be racing, and I will hand over to Kitten for that later on tonight. Thank you all again very much for watching. We will see you next week for round 9. That will be the Spanish Grand Prix. Good night, everybody. Take care.